Welcome once again to the 3 levels of leadership, and this is a video summary of a series of talks I did at Geekdom. And in this video, we'll cover the first level, or the most external level of leadership, which is presentation and platform skills. It's important to note that there are many more aspects to the public leadership, but presentation and platform skills is the one that I find will be immediately applicable and useful to you. It's the one that you can grab a hold of right away. And that's what I'll be trying to do in each of these videos, is to just give you a taste of each of the levels and something that's immediately applicable in your life and in your business. So with that, let's get to it. Welcome to the 3 levels of leadership, new mental codes for industry disruptors. So let's go ahead and get into what had all this occur. I'm in San Francisco, right at the heart of the most recent tech boom on Market Street, right after Twitter and Dolby Labs and all these companies had moved down there. And I'm walking by, seeing this guy yell at somebody on the telephone. Obviously he's, heated. And I think, this is interesting. He's clearly somebody who's got vision, clearly somebody who's a leader. So I walk into the establishment that he was outside of and just happen to find the empty chair right next to a bag on a chair. And I sat down, and 10 minutes later he comes in, pretty heated, and I say, "Oh, tough phone call, huh?" And he says, "Oh, did you hear all that?" I said, "Yes, I did." He goes, "Oh, they're so stupid." And after a few minutes, I found out that who he was actually talking to were his venture capital investors. He was sitting there telling the investors how stupid they were. And I thought, well, and I talked to him for a few minutes, and he said, "Hey, well, can I hire you to be my VP of sales?" And I said, "No, but I can help you get your second round of funding." And in my head, I was thinking, because it may not be very likely. And so I thought about these 3 levels of leadership and really what people need, these soft skills that they need that aren't actually that soft. They're really where the rubber meets the road. And the reason I'm talking about Legal Match is because I happen to build a rapport with him, which is something we'll talk in part 2, by immediately getting what he was doing and saying, "Oh, you're like Legal Match, only better." And he looked shocked and said, "How'd you even know about that?" And it was just having industry awareness. Nothing more than that. But I understood what he was trying to do. He was trying to be the next version of that, the better and more powerful version of that, the more service-oriented version of that. So again, the 3 levels of leadership are your inner alignment. That's the most internal. That's the private leadership within yourself. And then personal connection, which is empathy, rapport, your ability to connect, your ability to inspire by stepping into someone else's shoes and finding out what's important to them. And then last, or third, would be your public efficacy. That is your ability to lead in public. And let's take these in reverse order, starting with the most external first. And rather than have you wait for a couple of secrets, I'm going to give you these 2 secrets right up front. First, nobody knows how it's supposed to go but you. A lot of times people get up there and they go to present, or they go to give a talk, or they go to teach something, or they're delivering a pitch deck. Whatever it is, they worry about screwing up. They worry about messing up in some way, as if somebody knows how it's supposed to go. Now, there are certainly exceptions to this. Sometimes you have somebody in the audience who prepared the presentation or has done it before you in the past, and you're sort of taking over for them. But for the most part, you're probably going to be designing your own talk, and nobody actually knows how it's supposed to go but you. And so the more time you spend in your head, hoping that you do it right or trying to get it perfect, the more you're losing connection with the audience. So first, just let go of all that. Forget about trying to be perfect, because nobody knows how it's supposed to go but you. The second secret is that often people think they have stage fright, or they think they have some sort of fear going on, or anxiety, when often all it actually is a misinterpretation of your body appropriately preparing you for action. You've got adrenaline pumping through your body, and most of us just don't know what to do with that sensation. So we misinterpret it as fear, when really it's just your body getting into peak performance state through the release of chemicals. Now, about 50% of the people I work with, that actually handles most of their feelings around, quote, stage fright or fear. Now, the other 50%, there's other work that we can do. But it's important for you to know, first of all, nobody knows how it's supposed to go but you. And often the jitters, those are just misinterpreting the sensations of adrenaline pumping through your body. So I hope that those two tips or secrets make a difference in the next presentation you give. Now let's get into we're going to talk about some of the nonverbal communication that goes on. And here's what we're going to do for the rest of this particular video. We're going to talk about spatial anchoring and analog marking, throwing away your text and the 4 learning styles or types so that you can easily structure your talk. Now, this last one isn't appropriate for a pitch deck if you're looking to deliver it to investors. However, if you're teaching something or delivering anything that you want to keep the audience engaged, they work in most any context. There's a different format you want to have for investors, but that's a separate talk for a different time. So let's talk about spatial anchoring and analog marking. For that, the best thing to do is really show you this video. So he's anchored, spatially anchored the wall into a certain location, or all 4 walls, such that you can actually see the walls. And the analog marking that he does there, which lays out certain things on the stage, like the lock and unlocking it, and you can see that you can really see the rope there, can't you? Mimes are probably the best example of both spatial anchoring and analog marking. Spatial anchoring is when you keep referring to a certain space and people understand, like, we know that those 4 walls are just to his right or our left right now. And they'll always be there. And he may return to them. I don't know if he will or not. But we also got to experience the rope, right? And the analog marking that we all understood. We all understood the key. We all understood the rope there. And so things like when you're giving a talk about, if you say, let's get to work, and you roll your sleeves up, that would be an analog marking for getting to work. And spatial anchoring, if you keep referring to a certain part of the stage or to the left when you're left, when you talk about the future, there's a certain understanding there, because most people have to left to right orientation to time. And some people, of course, the future's in front of them, the past is behind them, but we all understand left to right. So you want to motion to your left, so it's on their right, to indicate something about the future. And in the past, you want to motion to your right or their left. So there's a few examples of spatial anchoring and analog marking. Another analog would be to say we're going to write something down. You pretend that you have a pen and paper and it's your palm, right? So any of these examples like that. I'm going to add one in here. It's economy of movement. Economy of movement essentially means getting rid of any extraneous or distracting movements, motions, or tics. For instance, if you're up on stage and you've got your hand in your pocket and you're rattling change in your pocket, or constantly touching your keys, or more frequently for a lot of people, touching your face or making any sort of noises, clearing your throat, saying and is something that a lot of people do, and it's very common. But there's other movements as well. You want to make sure that essentially any movement you're making is supporting whatever you're saying. So that's spatial anchoring, analog marking, and economy of movement. The next one I'll say is just simply throw away your text. One of the first clients I had, this was 20 years ago, was a lawyer who was going around the country speaking to bar associations on how to reduce litigation. And he was brilliant. However, he read from fully prepared text, such that he was essentially staring at the lectern the whole time. And these were bar associations who were engaging in, it was continuing education. Now, he'd been giving this talk for, 20 years at that point. And so I challenged him to throw the text away completely because, frankly, it was in his bones. And I gave him one 3x5 card. Now, this was, of course, in the days before PowerPoint was ubiquitous. It was actually using an overhead projector for, he had certain slides and things he wanted to show people. But his text was in a 3-ring binder, fully prepared, typed all the way out. The problem with this is a couple-fold. First, you're not relating to the audience, you're relating to the text. So immediately there's this disconnect. People don't feel engaged. The second thing is, gosh, what if somebody asks a question and you lose your way? You should really have, and people know this now, but you should really only have a few bullet points per slide. And you should just trust in your own genius, trust in your own knowledge, your depth of knowledge. And just tell people that their questions will drive the talk if you're wondering. In fact, if it's an educational environment, you can actually have them just ask a bunch of questions. You can write those questions down and then just answer them. It's a very powerful way to demonstrate your knowledge, your depth of knowledge, and your comfort with yourself. So throw away the text. The 4 learning styles or types, and this is something that I use often in workshops when I'm leading them, is to simply cycle through these 4 learning styles or types. And I'll explain them, then I'll use them to demonstrate them. So what we're going to talk about, you just say what you're going to talk about, and then why they should care, why it's important to them. And then how would either be steps or an exercise or bullet points or instructions, or if you can get people to move, that's ideal. But often when you're delivering a talk, it's a seated auditorium, you won't be able to do that as much. And then what if? That's about vision. So let me explain these a little bit further. What we're going to talk about are the 4 learning types or styles. It's a way to structure your talk. And why you should care is because that will keep the audience engaged, and it will also make it very easy for you to write the talk. In fact, it'll practically write itself. And how you do that is you cycle through these 4. What, why, how, and what if. And the what is telling them what it is, why they should care, why it's important. How will be steps or an exercise or bullet points. And what if? What if is about vision. Just imagine. Just imagine how much more at ease you'll be if before you give a talk or you're designing a workshop or any educational thing or experience for people, whatever you're going to talk about, you can simply cycle through these 4. Just imagine how much easier your job will be, how much more freedom you'll feel. So that's using the structure to explain the structure. Again, we're just touching on these presentation and platform skills. There's other things, like making sure your shoes are shiny if they're shinable, or if they're great kicks and you've got sneakers on, you want to make sure they're noteworthy. But you want to make sure that you dress just one level above the audience, not two makes them feel uncomfortable. But you do want to dress one level above, and you want to always look professional. And there's guidelines for that, of course, and at the end of the day, just be yourself. Relax. So, learning types, ways to structure your talk. That's just a brief overview of some of the things around presentation and platform skills. I hope you found this useful. We'll go a bit deeper in part 2 of the 3 levels of leadership. The second level, the empathetic, the personal, the rapport, the ability to inspire people using values, things that they find important. And thank you for allowing me to contribute to you.